Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Steven. One thing I've learned the hard way is that no matter how emotionally strong you think you are, nothing prepares you for walking in and seeing your partner in an intimate moment with someone else with your own eyes. That moment does something to your brain. That's exactly what happened to me. I came home earlier than usual one day, just wanting to surprise my wife. Instead, I walked into something I still wish I could unsee, and it broke something in me. But before I get into what I did after that, I think it's only fair to tell the full story. Let me take you back to the beginning, back when everything still looked like love. My wife, Cassandra, and I went to the same college. While our majors were completely different, we had a few shared classes here and there, mostly electives. I remember seeing her in lecture halls. But we weren't friends, so we never talked. She was just one of those people you recognize from a distance, part of your background in college, but never part of your circle. After graduation, life did what it always does. People scattered in different directions. Careers, cities, relationships, and life pulling everyone their own way. Years passed, and there was a mini reunion organized by some mutual friends. I showed up, and that's where I saw Cassandra again. This time, something was different. We ended up talking. That was the first time we had a real connection, getting to know each other for the first time. We stayed in touch after that day. Texts turned into calls. Calls turned into hours-long conversations. We got close. Over time, we started dating. And honestly, back then, it felt like everything aligned. Our differences somehow balanced out perfectly. It felt like we were kept apart back in college, just so we could meet at the right time in life. And then we got married. I used to look at her and think, yeah, this is it. This is the person I want beside me through everything. A few months into our marriage, Cassandra, my wife, sat me down and told me something I wasn't expecting. She was in serious debt. At first, I didn't even react. I was just stunned. My first thought was, wait, what? We'd been together for years before we got married, but never once did she mention that she was in debt. Not even a hint. No passing comment like, oh yeah, I've still got some student loans, or credit cards have been a pain. And I'm not saying I would have changed my mind about marrying her. Honestly, if she had told me while we were still dating, I would have still walked down that aisle with her, because I loved her. When I asked her why she never told me, she looked genuinely uncomfortable. She said, I wasn't hiding it, Steven. I've been paying it off since before we even started dating. I thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want you to think less of me. She went on to say that it wasn't until recently that she realized she was barely making a dent. The interest was eating her alive, and that's why she was finally bringing it up. She said she felt ashamed. I took a deep breath and said, okay, what's mine is yours, right? That's what marriage is about. You don't pick and choose which parts of your partner you accept. You sign up for all of it, the good and the messy. So, I offered to help pay it off. She looked relieved. She actually teared up and hugged me like I'd just rescued her from drowning. And honestly, I was happy to help. I figured we'd get through it together. I had no idea that this moment was the start of everything falling apart. But I'll get to that. After Cassandra told me about her debt, I picked up extra hours at work. Now I work in construction, so I went from regular hours to 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week. It wasn't just tiring, it was exhausting. Some nights I'd get home and just collapse on the couch. I barely saw Cassandra during those months. I'd leave before she woke up and come back after she was already in bed. Then, 2 months in, she told me she was pregnant. 3 weeks along. I just stood there for a second, stunned, and then I hugged her so tightly. I'd always wanted to be a dad. That news lit something up in me. If I was motivated before, now I am driven. I'm going to make sure they never lack anything. About a month after that, she told me she had quit her job. Said the workplace was toxic for her in this state. I didn't push back. I figured, okay, she's pregnant. Stress isn't good for the baby. I can carry us both for now. What I didn't realize was that being home all day without much to do was slowly changing the dynamic between us. She started making comments about how much I was gone, like how she felt lonely. or how she had to go to doctor's appointments alone. I tried to explain that I was working all these hours because I wanted us to be ready, not scrambling when the baby came. But it didn't feel like she saw it that way. Still, I pushed through. I didn't take it personally. Finally, after months of all those long shifts and saving every penny, I had enough to write a check big enough to cover all her debt. That night, I handed it to her. She looked at it, burst into tears, and hugged me like I had just given her the world. I felt proud. But even after that, I didn't slow down. We had a baby coming. Debt may have been taken care of, but diapers, hospital bills, a crib, baby clothes, they were coming next. I couldn't afford to relax. I kept grinding, thinking I was doing the right thing. I didn't know that all the while, something else was happening behind my back. One day, I was at work on another long shift. During a quick break, I was chatting with my supervisor. I mentioned the pregnancy, just casually, not expecting much. He paused, smiled, and said, "Why don't you take the rest of the day off? Go spend some time with your wife. Celebrate." It felt like a blessing. I hadn't had a full day off in weeks, so I thought I'd make the most of it. On my way home, I stopped at this little bakery she loved. I picked Cassandra's favorite dessert because I wanted to surprise her. When I got home, the house was too quiet. Still, I didn't think anything serious was happening. I assumed she might be sleeping or just resting. I made my way down the hall. As I entered our bedroom, I noticed the bathroom light was on. The door wasn't closed all the way, just barely ajar. That's when I heard a man's laughter. So I walked close to the bathroom and pushed the door open a little more. The first thing I saw was candles flickering. Then my wife was in the bathtub with another man. I didn't even know what to do in that moment. I just stood there. Cassandra stood up and reached for a towel, like she wasn't even surprised to see me there. The man in the tub with her didn't move much. He just looked up, unsure of what was about to happen. And then she looked me right in the eyes and said, "Don't make this awkward standing over there." I just reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and took a few photos of them. Then I said, "Okay," turned around and walked out. Closed the door behind me as if I were leaving a room I no longer belonged to. I walked out of the house and got into my car. I didn't start the engine. I just sat there, staring straight ahead. The dessert box was still on the passenger seat. Then, without a word, I reached over and tossed it into the back seat. 5 minutes passed. Maybe more. That's when I saw the guy walk out of the house. For a second, I'll be honest with you, the darkest thoughts crossed my mind. Rage. Fury. But I held myself. Eventually, I got out of the car and went back inside the house, but not to talk to her. I walked into the guest room, locked the door behind me, and sat down on the edge of the bed. A few minutes later, there was a soft knock at the door. I didn't move. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Cassandra. "We need to talk. Don't be immature." I turned off my phone without replying and sat there because I knew, deep in my gut, there was no coming back from this. After a while, I opened my laptop and checked my bank account, specifically to see if the check I'd written to pay off her debt had cleared. And by some twist of fate or blessing from above, it hadn't cleared yet. The next morning, I didn't even wait. First thing, I drove to the bank and requested a stop payment. After that, I called the debt agency myself. I wanted confirmation from their end that they hadn't received the funds. They hadn't. That was the second breath I took that day. Still the same day, I made another stop at a law office. I spoke with a divorce attorney I had booked earlier that day. By the time I walked out of that building, I'd started the divorce process. Now, I don't know how she found out about the canceled payment days later. Maybe she tried to check the account. Maybe the debt agency notified her when the money didn't arrive. Either way, when she figured it out, she exploded, accusing me of being selfish, cold, and vindictive. She said the reason she was with another man was because I was distant. In her book, that was abandonment. And get this, she threatened to sue me for emotional damages. I didn't respond. Not one word. I let the silence do all the talking. A few days later, the divorce papers landed in her hands. She was furious that she took me to court herself. And there, she called me the worst thing that ever happened to her. Said I made her feel small. said I was emotionally unavailable, told the court she wanted me to be ordered to pay off her student loans. The court listened, but her request was denied. But because she was pregnant, the court ordered a settlement for the divorce. She got a payout just enough to account for her condition and transition, but it was way less than what she had been asking for, and even less than what I had already planned to give before everything blew up. After the final judgment, she turned to me and said, as we walked out of the courtroom, "I'll drag you back here when the child is born." I didn't say anything back. I just walked out with my hands in my pockets and a sense of finality sitting heavy in my chest, because I had a feeling this wasn't over. Not yet. Months had passed since the divorce was finalized. I was trying to move on with my life, trying to rebuild from everything that had happened. Cassandra had gone quiet for a while, and honestly, I was fine with that. I didn't want anything to do with her anymore. I wasn't chasing updates about her pregnancy or asking questions. But true to her word, shortly after she gave birth, she dragged me to court. I got a letter in the mail that she was filing for child support. I wasn't surprised. She'd threatened to do it, and I knew she was the kind of person who would follow through, especially if she thought there was money to gain. I showed up. I told the judge I was ready to step up and support the child if the baby was mine. That was always the line for me. If I brought a life into this world, I'd take responsibility, no questions asked. But with everything that had happened, with the man in the bathtub, with the lies, I needed to be sure. I asked for a DNA test. The judge agreed. I told myself I was ready for anything, but deep down, I wasn't sure how I'd feel no matter what the results said. When the results came in, I wasn't the father. My first reaction was relief. I'm not going to lie. After everything that happened, the thought of being connected to Cassandra for the next 18 years felt like a nightmare. So yes, part of me was glad that I didn't have to be tied to her anymore. I didn't want a child with someone who betrayed me, who lied to my face, and disrespected our marriage in the worst way possible. But then I wasn't happy because, as much as I didn't want to raise a child with Cassandra, I did want to be a father. And finding out that I wasn't the dad meant she had been cheating on me long before the day I walked in and found her in that bathtub. It meant that what I saw that day wasn't a one-time mistake. It was just the part one caught. That realization stung more than anything else. After the DNA results came in and confirmed what deep down I had already suspected, that the child wasn't mine, Cassandra tried to come back into my life. She didn't call it that, of course. She acted like she just wanted to talk. But I knew better. It was like watching someone try to patch up a house that had already burned to the ground. She didn't apologize. She just acted like maybe we could move forward now that everything was out in the open. But there was no we anymore. That version of us died in that bathroom the moment I opened the door and saw her with another man. I looked her in the eyes the last time we spoke and told her, calm and clear, I do not wish to have anything to do with you. There was nothing left between us. Not love. Not trust. Just distance. And I intended to keep it that way. As for where she ended up, I can't say for sure. And I'm not interested in tracking her down or asking mutual friends for updates. But people talk. And eventually, I heard that she took the real father of the child to court for child support. I don't know how that turned out, and honestly, I don't care. That's her mess to clean up now. I imagine it's not easy, being a single, unmarried mother trying to raise a child in a life built on lies and poor choices. But again, that's no longer my concern. I lost a lot walking away. Time, energy, money. The version of myself that believed love alone could fix anything. But I gained something too. I dodged a life sentence of emotional manipulation, betrayal, and confusion. I dodged being tied for the next 18 years to a child that wasn't mine, and to a woman I couldn't trust. In a strange way, I consider myself lucky. Lucky that I walked in that day. Luckily, the check hadn't cleared. I am happy that the truth came out before I got in too deep. Now let me ask you, what would you have done instead? Would you have reacted the same way, or handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how others would have navigated this kind of betrayal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and share. See you in the next story.